So I recently invested in a rental property in Texas, and honestly, the whole process, it was as smooth. It probably was as smooth as could be, but part of me really did regret buying it. I think the only time I was really excited about it was on the plane ride over to Texas before I started the whole process. That was when I was most excited. But once I started looking at property, and even I mean, on the first day when we went out with our realtor, and they were like such a phenomenal team. They were so good. They show us everything everywhere. And I mean, we found a great property even on day one. But it was so stressful because I'm like, I don't know the area. I don't know if this is like the right decisions. I'm like, is this the right choice? How do I know? I mean, the only way to know if I make the right decision or not is actually just to follow through with it, and we won't know until we look back. I think that process was just like anxiety of not knowing the future. I didn't particularly like that. And I remember when we were closing and we were getting the key, or actually my realtor was getting the key, and he was like, "Oh, are you excited and happy?" And I'm like, James, I don't know. This is way more anxiety than I want. And for me, I'm already an investor. I'm in the real estate business, and buying home or selling home is not new to me. And even for me, I felt stressed because I'm in a completely different environment and there's so many unknowns. What we were expected for the rent. So when we're buying it, this community is all rental because it's multi-unit. And I would see, sign from the neighbor for the property manager sign. I would call them and be like, hey, how much did you rent this for? How much, are you getting for your unit? Things like that. And even for what we were expecting, because I'm basing it on other unit, when it was time for us to put the unit on the market and getting the rent, we were not getting the same level of rent. It's just because the market changed, and that's part of investing. Sometimes you don't get what you expect. So we have to make adjustment to that. And the whole process of like finding a tenant, it takes so much patience of screening, of showing, and even like handing over the key and all that, coordinating and being on different time zone. And I also work with the housing authority department as well with subsidized housing, not just, regular people, regular renter. And so there's a whole process of getting to know their process, what their rules and things like that. So it was a lot of work, where it's almost like, man, if I had just buy here in California, it would have been easier. Well, in the sense that because, I would know the process and there would be, not so much uncertainty. And I remember when we were getting ready for the tenant to move over and coordinating all that. And literally, I'm in the middle of the night over here where I was, and they're moving in, and I have to be up and making call, making sure they're getting the key, making sure, we're getting a deposit in, all that stuff. I was like, man, this is not fun at all. It's almost feel like more liability when you do own a home. And one of the things, I remember my manager say, you definitely want to be in a buyer's shoe every few years. And I think he's right, because as a realtor, I help my client buy home, sell home all the time. And I know the process. I understand what it is. I'm confident in everything that I need to get done for my client, but the client doesn't, right? And it's the same thing here. I become a client, a buyer, and it was so much unknown for me, even though I've already been through this process here in California. It's so different in Texas that not knowing that sense, it gives so much uncertainty, and it gave me a lot of stress. And I remember partway through it, I was like, why did we even bother buying here? Like, why didn't we just save some more and buy in, Sacramento or somewhere where we can drive there and not have to deal with all of this? But at the end of the day, I feel now that everything is settled, I actually feel good about the purchase. I feel happy with it, because when you are buying for investing purpose, you got to look at cash flow. You look at appreciation. Those two things are really important. And when you buy in California, if you do have, it take a lot of capital, and you do have the capital, I would say buy here, because our appreciation rate is very high. Our rental market, even though it has gotten softer the last few years, is still pretty strong. I mean, for a 1 bedroom, you're looking at easily $2,000. A 3 bedroom, anywhere between $3,500 to $3,800 for a unit. So it's very strong. Whereas, the unit in Texas 3 bedroom is $1,800. Very different in terms of price point. If you don't have that much capital and you still want to get into the game, because investing in real estate is a long-term game. It is not something that you get in this year and sell next year. You will probably lose money that way. So you got to sit on your investment. You got to give it time. And it's all about that compound effect. And if you don't know what it is, definitely read the book, The Compound Effect by Darren Harding. It's a really good book. And it really talks about the compound effects of everything that you do. And especially in real estate, when you're buying for investing purpose, you're not putting in a significant amount. Well, you are, because real estate is quite a bit. But what I meant is you're only putting in 25% when you are buying a property. The other 75% is funded by the bank. And then on top of that, you'll have your tenant paying for your mortgage. And you want to find property that will give you at minimum a small cash flow. And I know some people like, oh, as long as I net zero, I'm good with that. And I say, you don't really want that, because then you're going to need to have an emergency fund, because things might break down. There might be vacancies, because when you get the unit, it's going to take you time to put the tenant in. It could be a month, it could be 2 months, it could be 3 months. Those 3 months is a loss for you. So you got to have that in there, factor in. And when you have tenant turnover, again, you're going to have vacancy. So you need to have a property that will give you positive cash flow, factoring in maintenance and factoring in vacancy. When you're buying a real estate, it is the best way and the easiest way to build your wealth, because you're compounding your gain on the borrowing power of the bank. Whereas if you're buying in stock is phenomenal as well. I also believe in investing in stock. But with stock, you're not compounding, you're compounding on your own money. You're not compounding on the bank money. And so with real estate, you're getting that extra benefit of the compound effect and gaining on the money that you borrow. So for me personally, I see it as the best way of building wealth. And if you want to know more about investing, and if you want to know more about investing, whether here in the Bay Area, in California, other state, feel free to reach out to me. I will be happy to help and refer you to some phenomenal realtor across the country to help you out.